Truth. I'm Dean.
And I'm Audrey. And this weekend, we are celebrating the 11th. Wow, that's new. This weekend. Let's do that again.
Welcome to the Gospel Truth. I'm Dean.
And I'm Audrey. And this week, we are celebrating the 11th Sunday of Ordinary Time.
11th Sunday?
Yes.
Oh.
So we are going back to the basics. And we are going to start with talking about the kingdom of God.
All right.
Yeah, but before we do that, do you want to remind everyone what the gospel truth is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Gospel Truth is all about Audrey and I sharing our thoughts about the faith, the word, happenings in the church. Hopefully by doing that, we can understand our own faith a little bit better. Maybe you, the viewers, can get something out of it as well. And of course, we dive into the readings this week. And I think what's great about the readings, obviously the kingdom of God is a very, very big element of the readings.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of contrasting images throughout the readings. And that's what I want to call out today. So in the first reading from Ezekiel, you see that God is talking about how he's going to take something from a cedar and then replant it, and it shall put forth branches and bear fruit and become brand new majestic cedar. And he's talking about bringing low the high tree, lifting high the lowly tree, withering up the green tree, making the withered tree bloom. A lot of contrasting images there. And I think it plays very closely to that kingdom of God that we're going to see later on in the gospel. In the second reading, St. Paul in his second letter to the Corinthians talks about and reminds us that in our own body we are away from the Lord, and that we are trying to, we just need to remember that we want to get back to God.
Yeah, I also want to call out this one line I really like. Therefore, we aspire to please him whether we are at home or away.
Right.
So I think that's a kind of nice goal setting.
Exactly.
Nice reminder.
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
And he's just basically reminding us that, we want to be with God. That's our ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And then in the gospel, you see Jesus trying to explain to the crowds what the kingdom of God is. And, just before we lead into this, we know that the kingdom of God is something that we can't ever completely understand. Mm-hmm. We're never going to.
Yeah.
And so Jesus tries his best to explain it to us through parables. And so we have in the gospel the famous example of the mustard seed.
Yep.
How Jesus says that the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed, that when it is sown, it is the smallest of the seeds. Mm-hmm. But once it is sown, it springs up and becomes the largest of the plants, and puts forth large branches. So a very beautiful image there of what the kingdom of God is like. From humble beginnings, it becomes this very large, grand thing.
I do like the mustard seed parable.
Yeah.
If you haven't Googled what a mustard seed tree looks like, it's huge.
It's pretty big.
It's a really good parable for trying to describe and this whole idea of what the kingdom of God is, right?
Yeah, honestly, seeds being like that small,
and
being able to
huge.
do that, that's
bigger than the Lion
awesome.
King tree, I think, or the tree from
the Lion King
from Animal Kingdom.
Yes.
But anyways, so that was a good, really fun reading TLDR. We haven't had ordinary time readings in a while.
Yes.
And it's the first time we are, in a long time, we're not celebrating any kind of feast, or we're not in any specific season.
Yeah, technically the last 2 Sundays were ordinary time, but we had feasts. We were celebrating the Trinity. We were celebrating the body and blood of Christ. And so there was still something special about those days.
Yeah.
And now we're like ordinary time.
Yeah.
But not boring. Definitely not boring.
No, it's far from it.
Yes.
It's actually really interesting. It's a little, I'll admit, it's a little more challenging for me personally to really read into the readings and kind of read between the lines, see what the theme is. But I think that's kind of what makes it fun.
Yeah.
With ordinary time, right? And as we're shifting from moving from these high power seasons to ordinary time, we return to the basics, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we wanted to discuss today.
Yeah.
What are we doing here, and what are we focusing on today?
Exactly. I like that. Going back to the basics, going back to your fundamentals. And I think we're going back to that fundamental idea of what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it to the kingdom of God.
Yes.
Right. At the end of the day, one of our goals, or really our ultimate goal, should be to be with God in his kingdom. Mm-hmm. Right? That's it.
Yeah,
that's one of the fundamentals.
Yeah, and I know it's hard to, being human, when we think of home is where your family is, and home is under, your roof. But it's a nice reminder that our true home is in the kingdom of God with him.
Yeah, and I think what's so great about the readings this week is that they kind of tell us, or not explicitly, but they kind of remind us of what it means to try and make it to the kingdom of God.
Yeah,
right?
I like that.
Because there's so much contrast, specifically between like humble versus becoming grand.
Yeah.
And the way that we sort of read it is that the kingdom of God, the way that you get there is not by trying to pursue these big, grand, worldly things.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting good things for yourself from a worldly standpoint. Like, I'm not going to fault you if you want to have a nice car. Like, I'm not going to fault you if you want to, go on grand vacations. There's nothing inherently wrong with that.
No, there's not. You worked hard for your money. We work hard. All of us go through different, experiences and journeys in life. It's not wrong to want to treat ourselves.
Yeah.
But
the key, and when we were talking about this, the key is that you shouldn't be consumed by it.
Yes, that is the key.
Like, it shouldn't be the focal point of your life.
Yes, enjoy it, let it have its moment, but, never let those worldly things be the anchor in which, you live your life by.
Yeah. Right? And I love that.
Or the compass.
It just takes you back to the basics. It's like, you know what? All of this stuff doesn't matter. The basics is you got to remember that your goal is up there. It's to be with God. It's to be in that kingdom. So we love that.
Yeah. So then what really matters then, right? If these, if doing things for ourselves isn't what we shouldn't be part of our compass. So then what matters? Yeah.
And so we were talking about how the things that matter from making it to a kingdom of God standpoint are those really humble things that don't get clout in the world today, right? Everyone's chasing clout. They want to have power. They have money, nice cars. But, from a God standpoint, God's like,
He does not care.
He doesn't care about
what
that
size
stuff.
your house is, or how many cars you have.
Yeah. It's more about the good that you bring into the world, either through the love that you show to others or through the kindness that you show to others.
The acts of service you do for your community and for your loved ones and your friends.
Yeah.
Those are the intangibles.
Those are sort of the
that
things
will get you there.
Yeah, exactly. The things that go unnoticed by the world because the world's just not focused on that sort of stuff. And it's kind of those humble things, those things that come from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think those were a lot of good examples, but also let's just try and remember to, especially during ordinary time, we don't have one specific thing we're focusing on. Lent and Advent, we focused on preparation.
Yes.
Easter is very obvious. We're celebrating
the resurrection.
But now we can kind of take this time to really focus on ourselves and what can we do as humans to get to the kingdom of God, and it's a good time to reflect on hey, am I taking time to listen and see the beauty in my day-to-day, even if it's not maybe you're not gifting someone something tangible, or someone's not gifting you something tangible, but maybe someone donated or gave you their time to listen to you, and really see those little things and then work to reciprocate that in your own way, and have those little stepping stones that essentially kind of get you across the finish line.
Yeah, I like that. Right, it's just sort of a reminder, or it's just I love that advice that you gave. Just to kind of think about it, be a little bit more introspective, and just think about where those humble moments have sort of found their way into your lives that you may have missed.
Yeah, and let's remember that it's at the end of the day, it's the totality of all these little beautiful moments that you do and experience and share throughout your life that will matter more than the totality of the dollars you've made, or what you did on vacation, or how much you spent on whatever. I don't know what people are spending money on anymore. Cars, trips, whatever.
Yeah.
So we really want to challenge you, this week to really remember the goal, right? And the goal, what's the goal?
The goal, don't worry, I'm going to remind you. The goal is to make it to the kingdom of God. And the steps that you take to get there, they're not always going to get you worldly recognition.
No.
Right?
And you'll feel bad maybe.
Yeah.
I did this, but don't worry about that.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you get recognition from God, which is what really matters.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of stuff that can give you that lasting happiness, right?
Yeah, and fulfillment, and make you feel good about the human life that you're living, honestly.
Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah, ordinary time's not that ordinary, but it's a nice.
Far from it.
Yeah, it's just a nice time to sort of reflect on all of these other things.
I love it. Yeah, and we look forward to talking more ordinary time readings with you all next week. So until then, we'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye,
everybody.